This is really just something that we created because we saw that there was a need. That people were interested in creating custom GPTs, but they were a little intimidated. It seems like, I totally get it. It seems intimidating, but it really isn't.
Hi there. Welcome to AI for Good. Today you're here with your host, Dylan Bose, and myself, Sam Wheatley. And today we're talking about a very special offer that we're giving to our subscribers, to those of you who are listening to this podcast, as well as subscribe to our Substack. We have developed a 5-day course that will take you from zero to proficiency in 5 quick minutes a day to building your own custom GPT. And Dylan and I had this conversation just a few minutes ago about what is that? What are we offering? What do you think our audience will understand about building their own custom GPT? So, Dylan, do you have an answer for that?
Well, a GPT stands for generative pre-trained transformer, but that's not really what's important. What's important is that
No, we're telling people we'll help them build their own transformers.
yeah, transformer. Yeah, you can wear it and stomp around the city and destroy buildings. No, but that's kind of the point, though, is that like what we don't, and I personally am not that interested in the behind the scenes technology of what makes these tick. It's interesting philosophically, but
Yeah.
for the purpose of this and what we're doing here with this podcast is we want to help you, our listeners, use these tools to make your life and work easier. And so
Correct.
the purpose of this course is to teach you how to build a custom GPT. Basically, what that is a custom version of the off-the-shelf Chat GPT generative AI chat thing that we all have. If you're listening to this, chances are you've probably experimented with that at least. So building a custom GPT is the next level of going a little bit deeper. It
Mhm.
may seem a bit intimidating, which is why we created this course. It really isn't, though. Anybody can do it.
Yeah.
If you're listening, you're hearing my voice, you absolutely can build your own custom GPT. It does not take technical expertise. It doesn't take years of study. Like, as Sam said, this course is 5 days, 5 emails in 5 days, less than 5 minutes a piece. So sign up for it. It's free, and you'll get an email every day and walk you through it. For those of you who want to like binge and read it all at once, we'll put a link in there to just reading it all at once. That's fine as well. So
Yeah.
really, this is really just something that we created because we saw that there was a need. That people were interested in creating custom GPTs, but they were a little intimidated. It seems like, I totally get it. It seems intimidating, but it really isn't.
Yeah, this is really the key that unlocks the whole AI revolution. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Before you're sort of at the whim of the general interest interface. So a lot of the critique that I hear about AI and why somebody's tried it and no longer wants to deal with it is basically based on the general interface, which is I asked it this question, it gave me an answer that seemed plausible until I dug around, and then I
Mm-hmm.
realized it had a lot of holes in it.
Or it
What the,
was very generic and
Correct.
yep. Mm-hmm.
Or the language seemed like I asked it to write a letter and it seemed very stilted or
Yeah.
businessy or corporate.
Yep.
Those are all critiques that are accurate of the off the shelf versions of AI. But what the transformation really is when you can tailor the AI to a specific use and for a specific set of data. That once you start training it and giving it a unique set of data, so many things improve.
Yep.
The quality of the output improves. The insight into that limited data set that you're going to create with your own custom GPT goes through the roof. And so
Yep.
this really is where a lot of the benefits that you're hearing are actually have been made accessible to everybody, like Dylan said, who's listening to us. You don't have to
Yep.
be a coder. You don't have to have a PhD in AI or robotics. Uh, you just need to know a few simple things.
Yep. Sam, something that you've used this to describe custom GPTs, and I find it to be so helpful. But it's like you're giving it discrete set of data, and then now you have this very unique, a unique way of interacting
Yeah.
with that discrete set of data using natural language to chat
Hmm.
back and forth. And
Yep.
that's what's revolutionary about it.
Yeah. Give some examples, Dylan. That how have you used custom GPTs to improve your work and beyond just sort of practical? I mean, beyond sort of fantastical. What are really practical ways you've used
Yeah.
it?
I think probably the easiest entry point for people to think about this is using marketing personas.
Hmm.
So we created specific GPTs based on our marketing personas for our nonprofit, and then we can interact with those marketing personas as if we had like access to our market research day in and day out all periods of the time.
Right.
um, so that's something that's sort of easy to wrap your mind around. Like imagine making an AI version of one of your customers
Hmm.
that you can interact with and run by marketing copy ideas, campaign
Yeah, and
ideas.
you can ask questions of that customer that you would
Yep.
never be able to ask an actual person.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. And in the middle of the night if you need to, when a project is due. But yeah,
Exactly.
so that's one sort of easy way to do it. We also have a specific GPT that's sort of the like keeper of all of our content.
Yeah.
um, and she is trained on all of we have this like vast library of content. And so she knows it all. So like I know it pretty well, but it's a lot of text and
Yeah.
she knows it better than I do because she is a robot and doesn't and so has perfect recall, perfect memory, and can instantly see connections between things. So
Mhm.
one example I've mentioned here before, but I asked her to come up with a glossary of unique ways that we talk about certain things, like phrases that we use that are
Mhm.
less than common. And she just spat out like twenty examples of it, which I would have been able to do spending several hours reading through, trying to remember
Yeah.
things. So that's another example.
Yeah. Another use case that a lot of people ask about and I've developed is a GPT that mimics my writing style. And
Hmm.
so I produce content, I write a lot. And so it won't work out the box, but you can set up a custom GPT and start feeding into it your own previous content that you feel really
Hmm.
good about. Like, here's a piece I did that I really like the style, the way it flowed. And if you start uploading 5 or 10 of those into the memory of the
Hmm.
GPT, which in our course, we explain how to do, then that GPT is looking for those patterns in your own writing that you don't even recognize.
Yep.
And so over time, I've been using this for over a year. It's gotten very good at sort of understanding what fits within my style and what doesn't. And I've even said now when I go to with an idea, I'll say, I want to write this kind of copy for this kind of audience. Here's just my freestyle, free range ideas that are flowing through my head. Now put this into coherent form and adhere it to my style of writing with the key things that I do for a Substack article, for example.
Yep.
And it'll give me a very good first draft. And
Yep.
so I used to say it got me on first base. It's now improved where I feel like I'm already on second base. And a lot of what
Interesting.
I then do is just refine that. Like, oh, I don't quite like that turn of phrase, or I'd rephrase this paragraph a little bit differently, or I'd reorganize
Mhm.
it a tad. But I can go from idea to actually posting within an hour and feel very confident about this is in my style. These are my ideas. It's just accelerated that. And so that's another use case for a custom GPT that you just cannot get out of the
Yep.
box GPT to do.
And something you've mentioned before, like you can take what's so cool about this concept, it
Mhm.
just gets me stoked. But like what's so cool is you can, yeah, it's cool to say, okay, d- here's my idea. Give me a Sam version of this and write it in my
Right.
style and help me get, to first or second base. But something you've talked about before is then you can go back and you can be like, what are the elements that I use
Yeah.
as like a structure post for my writing?
Yeah.
And you can learn, because it will recognize these patterns profoundly that you can't really look into your own self and see in the same way. So you can then learn more about your own writing style by interacting with this
Yeah.
piece of artificial intelligence that knows your stuff so well.
Yeah. And you can even then use it to brainstorm improvements. Like, here's my
Yeah,
audience that
yeah.
I'm trying to reach. I'm trying to achieve this sort of call to action or whatever. Where would you improve this article to get to that goal? Or
Yep.
what am I typically missing in my writing that you think I should include?
Hmm.
Or you can import a excellent piece of writing from somebody else that you really admire, maybe even somebody like that is a thought leader, and say, here are these elements that this person is advocating to use in this type of copy. Make sure I include that every time I do a Substack post or a Instagram summary or a
Right.
LinkedIn post or whatever it is. And again automatically remembers, oh, when you write a LinkedIn post, it needs to have all these 12 or 5 or 4 elements in it,
Hmm.
which I would forget. I mean, I would write something that I would like, but I would
Of course.
oftentimes forget what are the unique things about this output piece versus this output piece.
Yeah. And one another way for our audience to think about it, and why it's so important to make your custom GPTs, and therefore why it's so important to go to our website and sign up for this course for free. It's free.
Free.
But did I mention it's free? So, if you've experimented with ChatGPT, you probably know you get better output when you sort of refine your input, you give
Mhm.
it some context, you give it very specific instructions. Like here, like we're saying, you say, here's my audience, here's where I'm coming from, here's a project I'm working on, and you kind of give it all this context in the middle of that, in the beginning of that conversation. um, and if you listen to this podcast and you've played with ChatGPT, you probably know that is how you get better outputs. But what creating a custom GPT does is it allows you to do all of that at one time,
Correct.
and it will remember those things for this specific use case. So you don't want to maybe use this GPT for every task, but
No.
for this Substack writing GPT, you can just pull it up and it remembers, it's built into its instructions all of that context. So you don't context. So every time you don't have to go back in and say, okay, here's your audience, here's where I'm coming from, here's
Right.
what I would have done. So,
Yeah, and also in our course, we'll walk you through how to build out that back end so that
mhm,
it remembers these things. You stoke its memory with sort of key documents to keep it on
mhm,
track so it doesn't drift off.
yep,
Also, how to give it a personality um, constraints, places where it's going to prompt you for things. So that, again, there's been a lot of interest in data about prompt engineering, but this is
Yep.
really the step beyond prompt engineering. This is
Yep.
really building the right kind of GPT to even ask the questions to, so that
Right.
you don't have to like do all that background every time you want to get an edit on your copy,
Hmm.
or every time you want to analyze that spreadsheet, or every
Right.
time you want some input on how to improve your marketing. Um,
Hmm.
it remembers those things, and it actually improves over time as well because of
Yep.
your interactions with it. And you can tell it, I don't like this content. In fact, that is one of the key things, is like giving it quality feedback
Yep.
along the way will improve its performance over time.
Yep.
But like I said, we'll walk you through all this. It's not complicated, but there are
Hmm.
some key elements that we've kind of discovered that really make
Right.
our GPTs work for us extremely well.
Yeah. Take our hours and hours of trial and error and sort of dead ends and rabbit trails and all of that, and you can have all of that for for free, and we've just put it all into a simple course. So like, instead of going down all those rabbit trails that we've been down to
Mhm.
arrive at this at these insights, like, you can just have them right away. So that would have saved us a whole lot of time if we could have had something like this a year ago.
Yeah, I mean, we're writing to ourselves in the past. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
where were we a year and a half ago? What do we wish we had known? If we
Mhm.
had known then what we know now, it would have accelerated our growth. And so
Yeah.
that's what we're giving to you. And the reason we're giving it to you is because we want other people to use this tool. We want you to thrive. We want you to like be able to use these tools in a very effective way to sort of cut through a lot of the baloney that's out there about AI, and be able to
Yeah.
find very pragmatic ways to put this technology to use for your business. We're very much about sort of the everyday, how does this work kind of application.
Exactly. And Sam, talk a little bit about it wouldn't be an AI for Good course if we didn't have a specific GPT built for the course. So
Right.
talk about GP Tutor.
So we built a custom GPT that trains you how to build GPTs, and his name is GPT GP Tutor. And so GP Tutor is also part of this course. If you sign up, you'll get a free access to GP Tutor, and then you can just ask GP Tutor all your questions about how to build a custom GPT, how to improve it, how to
Hmm.
maybe tweak it to your unique use cases, and it'll be much better than Dylan and I are because it's available 24/7, 365.
Yeah. So that's a great example too, and we can maybe think of, if someone is still wondering, oh, I don't really know if I'm gonna, like, do I really need to make custom
Mhm,
GPTs? Let's explore a few more use cases and examples that we've come up with, because I think one thing that I've realized is that it's so helpful for creating very, very specific
mhm.
GPTs. So like, a specific GPT trained on how to teach this course is one example. Another example that I came up with is a GPT that takes a transcript from a
Mhm,
podcast or YouTube uh, recording and creates timestamps for the YouTube description. Like, that's its only job. Its only instructions are do this, and that's its only job, because it's something that otherwise that took me like an hour to do that.
right.
And so it doesn't need to know how to like speak French or write marketing copy. It just comes up with timestamps based on a transcript. So I'm sure if for our listeners, like just sign up for the course, because when you start to see how this works and you see the power of it, you'll start just coming up with another. I mean, how many GPTs have we made, Sam? Like 30, 40? I don't know.
I think I
You
have
know?
30 of my own. And then
Yeah.
in our organization, our team of five, I don't know, we probably have over 100 that we're using.
Yeah. So you'll start to, if you're thinking, if you're listening right now and you're thinking, I don't really know if I have a use case for this, just trust us that you will come up with use cases. Like, there are plenty of things in your personal life as well. Like one that I'm just remembering some of my examples, but like I created a parenting help GPT that I trained on the particular, parenting styles that I think we want to have emulate. We want to
Mhm.
emulate as parents for our two little kids, and so if I have a question about a discipline or something like that, I'm not just Googling and seeing
Right.
everybody's answer across all the internet. Like, I'm training it on specific people, specific psychologists and parenting experts
Mhm.
I value their insight over other people's more.
Yeah. I mean, another one, I created a personal coach
Mm,
GPT. So I uploaded all of the sort of psychological studies I've taken, all of the different, panels and da 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 that I've been involved with over the years. And so the coach GPT knows me, knows my strengths and weaknesses. And so I'm able to ask it like,
that's so
hey,
cool.
I'm working on this project. I want to maximize my strengths and minimize my weaknesses. Here's the project description. What
Mm,
should I do? What should I delegate? What should I try to figure out a way to work around? And it'll automatically, very quickly, give me sort of a breakdown. Here are the tasks of this project you should keep. Here are the ones you need to delegate, and here's where you really need to work with some others to achieve these goals.
that's cool.
Um, and again, it's incredibly valuable, helpful. And again, it's not analyzing me, but it does help me action things I shouldn't remember from these
Hmm.
tests and profiles and things like that I've taken. But I tend to forget. I tend to forget all the
Hmm.
time. Like, oh yeah, I'm good at this and I'm not so great at that. Um,
And now there's a record of those interactions that you can
yes.
go back and sort of revisit.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I've said this to you, but I've been using this for over a year. And so I asked this coach, hey, what areas do you think I'm not as self aware about?
Hmm.
And it gave me, and why? And so it gave me sort of a breakdown of our interactions and said, I think you tend to forget this about yourself, here.
Wow.
And then that was super helpful as well. Like to say, okay, now what are some coping mechanisms for that? How can I build in some mnemonics or scheduling to make me remember things? And it just
Nice.
gave me a whole new insight into like, oh, this is why I tend to like give up on my exercise plan,
Mm,
because I am caught up with trying to perform or do something for other people instead of prioritizing my own health or whatever. Like
yeah.
incredibly valuable information that's again, because it's tailored to me and my interactions with this
Yep.
coach, I didn't have to pay for it and I didn't have to like
Yeah.
ask another human being for something that might be hard for me to hear from another human, but it
Hmm.
was much easier to receive from just a bot who's given me from the history of interactions, here's some
Yep.
feedback for you.
Because what it is so good at is
Pattern recognition.
recognizing
Yeah.
patterns. And like, I'm learning now that there's so much of life is is patterns,
Right.
and we're not so good at that. I think, so it
Yeah.
is a really fascinating thing to be able to tap into that and get better insights because of that. Yep.
So hopefully we enticed you to try out your own
Yep.
custom GPTs. Think of some use cases, take our course, test out, our chatbot, and share your feedback. We'd love to hear how you're using it. You
Yeah.
can always reach us through our website, parallaxpartners.co. And also on the header there on parallaxpartners.co is a button for this free course. So just simply add in your email. We'll send you the course, and hopefully you're on your way, and let us know how it's
Hmm.
going. We'd love to improve this and for other people to be able to start making their own custom GPTs.